an op-ed for The Guardian entitled, "Trump Still Won't Shut Up." He's doing Democrats running for office a huge favor. Former U.S. Labor Secretary Robert Reich writes, in part, whether Trump's endorsements pay off in wins for his chosen primary candidates is beside the point. By making these races all about him, Trump and the media are casting the midterms as a whole as a referendum on Trump's continuing power and influence. This is exactly what the Democrats need. Democrats can also count on Americans' reawakened awareness of the hatefulness and chaos Trump and his Republican enablers have unleashed. And it's this combination, Democrats scoring some additional victories for average Americans, and Trump and others doing everything possible to recollect his viciousness, that could well reverse conventional wisdom about midterms and keep Democrats in control. I don't know. He seems to have a pretty strong hold on his candidates and on Republicans in office, Joe. The one thing that I wonder is Roe v. Wade being overturned just in time for the midterms. I do think that there are women who will step up. They will be so angry. And that includes some Republican women.
Well, again, if only 19% of Americans support banning abortion, if only 23% of Floridians favor the overturning of Roe v. Wade, and maybe 29% of all Americans, you're behind the eight ball politically, to say the least. But that's where Donald Trump is right now. Yes, maybe Trump helps in primaries. In Republican primaries with the most extreme members of that party. But we've seen it time and again. Donald Trump helps somebody in the primaries, they get to general elections, and what do? The same thing that Donald Trump did. They lose. Donald Trump got crushed in the 2018 midterms. And of course, Donald Trump, more than anybody else, help the Democrats take control of the United States Senate. Ask Republicans in Georgia. They will tell you they would have won both of those Senate races in 2020, and Mitch McConnell would have been running the United States Senate, but for Donald Trump. So, yeah, I know a lot of Democrats were glad when Trump got banned from Twitter. But actually, the best thing for the Democrats would be if he got back on Twitter, if he kept running his mouth, if he kept sending out stupid tweets, because it would remind those voters who voted for Republicans up and down the ballot, but voted for Joe Biden in 2020, exactly why they did that. More Trump means less Republicans getting elected in 2022. Willie.
Yeah, in the state of Georgia, remember, Donald Trump said he might even support Stacey Abrams over Brian Kemp, which would be an interesting development. He probably didn't mean that, but his point was Brian Kemp hasn't been sufficiently loyal. We'll see. We'll see if J.D. Vance becomes the next United States Senator from Ohio, it will be because of Donald Trump and his support in the primary. If Dr. Mehmet Oz becomes the next United States Senator from Pennsylvania, it will be because of Donald Trump, but it's a mixed bag. It's not working, for instance, in the governor's race there in Georgia. We'll keep an eye on that. Washington Post columnist Henry Olsen, meanwhile, has a new piece titled "With or Without Trump, Tuesday's Primaries Portend a MAGA Year Ahead." Henry writes this, quote, "While Trump's endorsement clearly helped J.D. Vance, it's still notable that over 2/3 of voters chose someone else. Trump clearly is influential, but he's just not the almighty emperor many make him out to be." The news was even worse for Democrats. Republican turnout was more than double theirs, with nearly 1.1 million Ohioans choosing a GOP ballot compared with only 500,000 who voted in the Democratic Party. It's clear early in the cycle. One should never place too much stock in just a couple of elections, but the signs are unmistakable. Stormy weather ahead for business Republicans and Team Blue. Full speed ahead for the MAGA Express, Joe. What do you make of that argument?
Wow.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess so. I mean, Peter Baker, it's not like we haven't been talking about the conundrum that Republicans have been under since 2017. I mean, we started seeing it in those countywide races in Pennsylvania, like in Delaware County, that it not elected Democrats to their county board in over 100 years. And it happened in 2017, 2018, 2019 with governorships in Kentucky and Louisiana. Talk about the reddest of red states going Democratic. And then again in 2020. If it's full steam ahead for MAGA Republicans in the primaries, this is something that should make Democrats breathe a sigh of relief.
Yeah, one thing I would add, though, to Henry's argument about J.D. Vance not getting a majority of Republican voters and most Republicans wanted somebody else, the trick there is the other candidates were all competing to be more Trump-like. The problem was it was not a Trump-like candidate who happened to come up ahead of a variety of other style Republicans. They were all Trump Republicans running in that primary, and the question was which one would actually prevail, the one who actually got the Trump endorsement. But you're right. I mean, the question is how did that translate in the fall? Now, the trick for Democrats is it didn't work in Virginia last year, right? During the off-year election, they thought that running against Trump would be a successful strategy for Terry McAuliffe. It wasn't. Glenn Youngkin showed that there was a way for Republicans to run without offending Trump, but not necessarily embracing him 100%. And he managed to succeed in that governor's race. Now, what does that mean for this fall? Well, you hear people from the White House and other Democratic places talk about is not just about Trump, but the whole MAGA. That's why you heard Biden say this yesterday. The whole MAGA, collection. So in other words, the argument might be if you really want to turn Congress over to Marjorie Taylor Greene, for instance. In other words, not just Trump, but name specific people in Congress. Say they're going to be in charge of Congress if you vote for them. That's the way they're looking at it. The question is whether that works. Right in 2018, when Nancy Pelosi led a takeover of the House during Trump's term, she did it by not running against Trump, but by running on pocketbook issues and health care issues and things like that voters cared about. We'll see whether that strategy falls by the wayside this year in favor of an anti-MAGA strategy to galvanize Democratic voters, especially in a potentially post-Roe world.
All right, now to the latest.